What?
I just wanted to see how long I could wait. This is episode 30 of I Finally Saw, where today I finally saw Forrest Gump. Jenny, they're talking about my movie.
Jenny, they finally saw it.
Yes, we're talking about Forrest Gump, and I'm joined today by Andromeda.
Hey, gang. And
of course with Dayton as well.
Hello.
Yeah, is this a summer movie? I don't really know.
No, I mean it goes all around the year. So
I feel like it's a summer movie.
As the day we're recording this, it's the day before its release date. Came out July 6, 1994. So that was what? How many years ago at this point? Over 30 years at this point.
32.
Wow. This movie can rent a car and some change. So. Just figured a time as any to take a look back on this. But before we get too far into it, I want to take some time to highlight the movie, as I always do, with a paragraph that I have copy and pasted, because I am too lazy to write one myself. Slow-witted Forrest Gump, portrayed by Tom Hanks, has never thought of himself as disadvantaged. And thanks to his supportive mother, played by Sally Field, he leads anything but a restricted life, whether dominating on the gridiron as a college football star, fighting in Vietnam, or captaining a shrimp boat. Forrest inspires people with his childlike optimism. But one person Forrest cares about most may be the most difficult to save. His childhood love, the sweet but troubled Jenny, played by Robin Wright.
Hello, my name's Forrest Gump. Would you like a chocolate?
Oh, thank you.
It's funny what a young man recollects.
You're the same as everybody else. You are no different.
Your boy's different.
So, how familiar are we prior to today to watching this movie, Andromeda?
I've seen this movie a lot, and not only have I seen it a lot with really my parents, who are very old, might I add. I've seen it with, I guess, honestly, now that I think of it, maybe I haven't seen it with anyone else, other than my parents prior to watching it before this episode. But as far as my familiarity goes with it, I think it's kind of like everyone else. It's one of those movies that we've talked a lot on this show about, movies that are well regarded. And well regarded for a reason. I think genuinely Forrest Gump is the first movie where I understand why it's so well regarded. And it's also one of those movies when I ask anyone, what's your favorite movie? They say Forrest Gump or Shawshank Redemption. And I think those answers are both very interesting to me. But I guess, yeah, that's kind of how my familiarity is with it. It's just one of those movies that I've always seen growing up.
The first time I seen this movie was when I was taking a flight over to LA to specifically do tours of the studios over there. And so I was already in a film mood whenever I was watching it. And at the time, I didn't watch a lot of good movies. I was mostly, that was the transition period where you go from you're watching all the kids stuff, and now you're I'm going to be an adult now. At the age of 11 and watch real movies. But I watched it and I thought it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And I haven't watched it in a bit. I think I haven't watched it in over 6 years. So it was great revisiting it.
So this was something where I think it's so culturally ingrained that I was familiar with a lot of the iconography of it. I think if you've grown up in the States, you've definitely heard somebody say, "Run, Forrest, run." You've definitely heard somebody do a Forrest impression or talk about how life is like a box of chocolates or something. There's aspects to this movie that are just inescapable. And I, of course, as someone who is not just somewhat aware of popular culture, but a fan of movies specifically, was aware of all those things. And, but I had never seen it. And so there's this sort of awkward middle ground, because of watching it, because you're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I think I did know that, like the helicopters and Fortunate Son and him playing ping pong and the whole like joke and thing with like the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company and all that. I'm like, oh, I did know that. Okay. But also like actually seeing everything like, it doesn't matter how much you know. This was a really interesting exercise in seeing that. What it really is when you finally see it all in context, when you finally see it paced, presented the way it was scripted and intended and shot and put together, that it illuminates things in a way where it's not just this isolated joke that somebody's making on the softball field. It's a moment in a larger story.
Are you stupid or something? Mama says stupid as stupid does. I'm Jenny. I'm Forrest Gump.
She was my most special friend. My only friend.
We was together all the time. We was like peas and carrots, Jenny and I.
But yeah, I think, well, so the movie, again, released in 1994, stars Tom Hanks, was based on a novel, I believe, by the same name. Yeah, it just sort of follows, to kind of put it again in our own words, like it follows Tom Hanks as the Google summary put it, dim-witted man by the name of Forrest Gump, who just kind of through earnesty and some might say dumb luck stumbles his way through a lot of really important moments in history throughout Americana, from like when does it start? Like the 40s and 50s all the way up until basically when the movie takes place. And he does all these amazing things, and yet the only thing that really seems to matter to him is his relationship with his childhood best friend, Jenny.
Jenny.
So, I mean, let's transition into overall thoughts. Andromeda, you raise a really interesting point, which is that we've talked a lot about things that have like cultural importance on the show, but that this might be the first time we've seen something on the show that has like this. Yeah, this might be the first time we've seen something on the show that has that level of cultural importance, that has actually, I guess, somewhat stuck the landing for you. Is that right?
I mean, I don't know if it's stuck the landing for me, only because I've grown up watching it. You know, like I feel like I'd feel differently if I watched like Back to the Future, for example, and grew up watching it. Now that I am older and I've seen it again as an adult, I feel how I felt like when I was a kid, where this movie makes me nostalgic for a time period I wasn't even alive for. And like literally there were so many historical events that happened in Forrest Gump that I didn't understand as a kid. Like, for example, the whole Watergate thing, and Forrest being like, there's these men with flashlights and they keep me up at night. I mean, like, things like that, or as an adult, like, I understand the context of it now. I don't even know that it culturally sticks landing for me today, because I think the movie is very like apolitical and it doesn't take any stances, and whether you think that's good or bad is, I don't really know how to put it. It's just a movie, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we can get into how it might kind of play it safe to some degree, but Dayton?
Yeah, I love the movie. Even though I can like definitely see that issue of it kind of being safe with politics, I like that it doesn't shy away from the fact that America is messy, and I don't think it ever gets away from the fact that America is messy. I never feel like it's in a cleaner area than it, like the areas that are even like cleaner still feel very heavily tied to the moments that are like with Lieutenant Dan in his apartment, or like with the Black Panthers. It always feels like there's turmoil within this country, but it's still saying that it's something that everyone should put effort into. And I really like it.
Run, Forrest!
Hey, stupid!
Run!
Now, you wouldn't believe it if I told you, but I can run like the wind blows.
Who in the hell is that?
That there's Forrest Gump.
We talk about things that are culturally significant in a number of different capacities, whether that's from like a statement, like whether that feels like it's a response to a generational like pain or moment in a very specific period of time, or we're talking about like things that are significant because they kind of broke boundaries in a way And this is a movie that's interesting because it's something I don't know how much we've really engaged in it, but it's significant just because it is a pillar of pop culture. And we've definitely talked about movies like that. But like, you know, like Citizen Kane is not necessarily like a pillar of pop culture. And there are things that are like engrossed in pop culture, but I don't think like Gremlins, I don't know, maybe this is a hot take. I don't think Gremlins has like as much stake in pop culture as like Forrest Gump. Like, everybody knows Forrest Gump. And so I was like, I don't know how to get into this because like, is this going to be a situation where it's like, I just didn't grow up with this. And so it's not going to like stick at all for me. And I think for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I think like a lot of it from a technical perspective, from like a performance perspective, it does generally like come together. And there's this, I don't know, there are these like moments where, I almost wanted to call him Ernest. That's Jim Varney.
You know, Vern, this must be some kind of a cigarette lighter.
Forrest, in his like earnesty, are genuinely like really compelling. And I think to me, like one of the moments that really sort of landed was there's that moment after Jenny has spent some time at like the farmhouse and she leaves Forrest like Medal of Honor there. I don't know, like that was like, oh, like that's really like sad. I guess it's weird because it's like, I think I did really enjoy that. I don't know if it like is one of my favorite things, which it didn't need to be, but there's always this like aspect of like when something has a legacy like this does, that you're like, okay, how much of that is it going to live up to? And one of the things that really kind of surprised me going into it was just how much of like a technical VFX showcase this movie is. There's like a ton of visual effects in this movie, and I asked Dayton if he could kind of look into that for us.
Well, there's a lot of moments in this movie that are very VFX heavy, and you wouldn't even expect it. So there's a scene in Lieutenant Dan's apartment whenever he has two girls over, and he's starting to yell at them to get out because they just called Forrest stupid. And whenever he falls down, he's trying to get up without Forrest helping him. And there's a moment where his legs have to swing past a table. And since the actor had his real legs, he couldn't really do that. So what they did was they didn't have a table on set that day, and that's VFX'd in. And it looks so like, it doesn't look off at all in the scene. So you just don't expect it. And then there's a scene where he hops into the water. Instead of just having his legs go up over a ledge, they actually removed a portion of the ledge, and then he just swung his legs through it, and then they VFX'd over the ledge back into shot. It's very strange. And the obvious VFX stuff is whenever they included historical figures into the scenes with Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump. A lot of those scenes had to be lit based on the faces that they used. Not just Forrest got masked into those scenes, the president also did, which they built a set to recreate those locations so that the president and Forrest don't look out of place next to each other because they're both masked in. And one scene I really want to point out is the Dick Cavett show. In the Dick Cavett show, where John Lennon is talking with him, the Dick Cavett is actually played by Dick Cavett, and they put him in young makeup and they had him masked into the scene, and that made it to where they put Dick Cavett into makeup that put him at the age he was whenever John Lennon was on his show. So any of those scenes, it's him actually talking with Tom Hanks, and they just masked in John Lennon into those scenes themselves, and they morphed his mouth to say the words they wanted him to say, where he's like, imagine that, Dick. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because there's like, I don't know if there's necessarily a thematic reason for it, but they put, especially from like a VFX perspective, I imagine that allows them to really showcase what they're doing, because there's like a big emphasis in the story to have Forrest meet people that are like dead by the time he's telling his story.
Yeah. The only one I think that they didn't use VFX for was Elvis, which they just got a guy to play Elvis's body. And then the voice of Elvis in that scene was done by Kurt Russell, uncredited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's something I found out in my research.
Will you marry me? I'd make a good husband, Jenny.
You would, Forrest.
But you won't marry me.
I kind of wanted to save this until later, but there's a central, but it is kind of the entire point of the movie. and we've already kind of established our general like pleasant thoughts about the movie. And there is one central point in question that I did know about this movie going into it. And I was like, there's no way this is true. And come on the other side of it, and I still firmly believe that is not true at all. And I have a feeling that you guys, for the most part, are going to agree with me. So maybe engaging in this debate is just nothing but an echo chamber. But nonetheless, I feel like we have to talk about this whole like long-standing thing about how like the real antagonist of the movie, quote unquote, is Jenny. Because I don't think I agree.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case at all, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, no, it's not her. She fucks up a lot, but I don't really blame her for that.
Yeah, I feel like if people say that she's the villain, it's just like, to me, it reeks misogyny. It's like similar to, what's her name in Breaking Bad? Skylar White.
Oh my God.
In Breaking Bad. Like I think we've talked about it a lot on this show too, because when we talk about this movie, I think it's very divisive, which is interesting, which actually does make sense. But it's the whole idea that like Forrest is like this all-American man, and then Jenny being this like counterculture American. And some people have the idea that like Forrest kind of just does his own thing and gets rewarded for it, where Jenny is like, countering like part of counterculture, so she kind of gets what she deserves, which I don't necessarily agree with. But then it's kind of like shown in the movie where she does all of these quote unquote bad things. Like she does drugs, for example. She like is a victim of abuse, but then when she does things to try and ease her pain out of a very tough childhood and a very tough life, then it's like people saying that she deserves it in the end, which I don't think is fair to say.
I mean, she had such a hard life. It's hard to say she is the villain. I don't know how you can come to that, because Forrest barely gets affected by her decisions outside of just not getting to be with her earlier. I mean, Forrest does pretty much everything he says he wants to do, except for stuff that's out of his control. Like actually being able to start his business with Bubba, since Bubba dies in Vietnam. But he's able to... Jenny never actively tries to hurt Forrest, and every time she's just happy to see him. She never tries to get him involved in the stuff that she herself gets harmed by.
Yeah. And to me, it's more like, it's more that she is the like guiding figure in Forrest's life, of her literally saying like, before you go to Vietnam, like, don't try and be a hero, just run, like, just help yourself. And then like when we are in Vietnam and he was trying to save Bubba, it was like a very heartbreaking scene, because Bubba is like, why is this happening? Like, I just want to go home. But like, then for Forrest to come back to Jenny and being like, I only made it out because I did what you said.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about the Vietnam stuff is, I think one of the things that, even though it's supposed to be the point of the scene, is that you don't hear what Forrest says at the peace rally.
Or the rally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but whenever you actually hear, like, they actually have what he said. And honestly, I think it would have been great for the audience to hear it. And I don't know if we really get anything except for just keeping Forrest out of being political, like having a specific side to a struggle. I think honestly what he does say is very beautiful. And I mean, the guy like goes up to him like, "That's great, man. That's awesome."
Oh, the guy, I'm gonna get blasted for that. I should know who that is. He was a very famous
I actually didn't know who that was either, so don't feel bad. This is what this speech was. Wait, hang on.
Yeah, pull out the speech because I want to hear it.
Yeah, sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they go home to their mamas without any legs. Sometimes they don't go home at all. That's a bad thing. That's all I have to say about that. I don't know why the speech was cut, because it's not, at least I don't really see it as very political.
It's not. Yeah. It's simply just war is bad. But based on how like charged that Vietnam was politically for that, I can see why they were a little hesitant to show that, because they don't want to make Forrest seem like he was siding with any side, even though I feel like it was pretty obvious he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Abby Hoffman. That's the guy who's leading the rally. Co-founded the Youth International Party, aka the Yippies, and was a member of the Chicago 7, if you guys are familiar with that whole trial.
Yes. I need to get more into that history. I've not looked into it too much.
They even put me on a thing called the All-America team, where you get to meet the President of the United States.
Congratulations. How does it feel to be an All-American?
I gotta pay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know there's an aspect of it where it's just like, that's not really the point, because Forrest is kind of a passenger through history. Like, that's sort of the crux of the whole movie, is that he's done and accomplished all these fantastic things, but the only thing he really cares about at the end of the day is Jenny. But it does feel like weird a little bit to have this character at the center of so many of these things and have nothing really to say about these things, where it's just kind of like, it's always like sort of the safest possible thing, where it's like, now that we're on the other side of that, we can make like we can make kind of a thing. And there's like stuff, because it's like, oh, like there's that moment when his university is getting desegregated and they just have him like, I don't know, there's an aspect of it where it's just like, oh, the only reason, I don't know how I feel about this, but it almost comes, I know this isn't the intention, but there's an aspect of like, oh, the only reason he isn't racist is because he's kind of dumb. too dumb to understand what racism is, because everyone speaks in innuendo in the real world, you know, like he wouldn't, he doesn't, he's like Amelia Bedelia, he doesn't understand what euphemisms are. And I don't know, there's a little bit of that in there where it's just kind of like he's like the one person that like doesn't, it just happens to not be racist at his school or something, and it's like, you know,
I mean, Jenny wasn't racist, so she was a part of she helped out with the, so I don't think the movie is saying that. Yeah, she was a part of the Black Panther. I don't think the movie was trying to say that we're trying to be neutral on racism. I think it was very much not for racism.
But not being neutral on racism is also a very easy position, especially.
Exactly. Yeah. Surprisingly, being against war around this time, just from like there being veterans, makes it to where it's a harder stance to take than racism bad.
Mm-hmm. There's a funny story about Forrest's iconic voice that Tom once divulged on the Graham Norton show. And he does a really funny impression of Rob Zemeckis while telling the story. He was like, Rob Zemeckis came up to me, he's like, "We got a situation here, Tom."
Bob said, "Okay, we got a problem here. You're going to have to teach this kid how to talk the way you want to talk."
Because apparently the issue was that the actor that they had casted as young Forrest had that very pronounced accent. The magic word is diphthong, if I remember correctly. And Tom Hanks is retelling the story, and he looks so tired just recounting. He's like rubbing his eyes, and he's like, and I talked to Rob, and I'm just like, why don't I just talk like the kid talks? So that like whole accent wasn't like a crazy, like, the way he tells that story, it wasn't like something that he developed and then became. He was just like, okay, this is the kid we casted for the movie. It's going to be easier if I talk like the kid than if we try to just reverse engineer this kid to talk like me. So he just talked to the kid. He's like, okay, son, what does your dad do? My daddy works in Greece. That's like a product. What do you do? Grease goes into all manner of products. And that is apparently where Forrest's voice came from. It's just... And hey, I mean, Dayton brought it up during the pre-show, but speaking of child actors...
My son is played by Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Jenny. Our son is friend with Don Goofy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
here's one thing I want to. So was Forrest just not intended to have a Southern accent?
I don't know if it was intended to be that thick or what, but according to that story that he tells in the Graham Norton show, the specific like intonation of Forrest's voice was born out of him just trying to imitate the young actor they cast as young Forrest, which is crazy because he doesn't even have that much dialogue. I don't know if it was like wound up on the cutting room floor or what, but like I can barely remember almost anything he says other than when he introduces himself on the bus.
I think that's the only time I remember him talking.
Well,
pretty much. Anyway, a fun fact about the actor that plays young Forrest. When he grew up and watched the movie, he actually joined the military and fought in Iraq because he really liked the idea of Lieutenant Dan having like ancestors that have died in every major war, and so he wanted to join the war himself. And there's like photos of him, what is it called?
Like
I don't know what it's called when you go like on a tour. Yeah, in service.
Where you boys from in the world? Alabama, sir. You twins?
No, we are not relations.
I loved Lieutenant Dan in this movie. I
He
liked
might
how
be,
pissed
too.
off he was the entire time.
Yeah.
Like him going from being pissed off to like genuinely really caring about Forrest is really sweet.
He's got a really compelling like arc. There's all these like wonderful little moments of well, like the one that stands out to me is there's that moment when he like is almost confronting Forrest, and he's like almost kind of underhandedly implying that like Forrest needs to kill him in the hospital is what it comes off as. And he's like I was supposed to die out there. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm telling you? And he's like, do you know what it and then there's that wonderful irony of when he like is grabbing Forrest by the collar and he's like, do you know what it feels like to not be able to use your legs? And it's like, yeah, he does. And then him coming all the way from New York when he finally gets word that Forrest actually did start a shrimping boat, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna be your first mate because I promised you. And it's like genuinely really sweet. There was this one moment though, and I genuinely got really concerned because I've never seen that movie, and it's the moment where he's like, Forrest, I never thanked you for saving me. And then he jumps into the water, and I was like, did he just kill himself?
He made peace with God.
Yes, I was like, oh, he's dead.
And then he comes back with his fiance. He's like,
oh yeah,
I guess he's fine. He invested in that fruit company.
Well, here's the crazy thing. He drops the
fruit
C word.
company.
He drops the C word in Vietnam. He calls the Vietnamese people the C word, or the CH words to be specific. And then he marries an Asian lady.
Yeah.
Indescript background.
Do you think he invested in Dogecoin?
Lieutenant Dan.
They would do that in
Lieutenant
Forrest Gump
Dan.
too.
I got how much Dogecoin did we invest in, Lieutenant Dan?
Lieutenant Dan made me buy X. I didn't know you could buy letters of the alphabet, but I guess you can. What would Forrest invest in today? Bitcoin?
I don't want to talk to no caveman named Grok.
He would have invested in Bitcoin before 2016 and then got rich.
It would have inspired the guy. He would have like smashed. He would have accidentally like smashed a penny somehow, and this guy would have been, and Forrest would have been like, "Oh, I guess I got a bit of my coin left." And then,
yeah, he would have been there. He would have gone to college again with Mark Zuckerberg, and then invented Facebook.
He was telling me about some book full of faces. I thought that was called a yearbook.
Oh my god! There's gotta be a moment where he's like hanging out with this like young black guy. He's hanging out with this young black guy, and he's like somebody like has stolen something from him, and they're both at a bus stop or something, and he's like, "Oh man, that was one slippery robber. I'm always sad to look out for smooth criminals." And the guy on the bench is like, "What did you say?" I could do this all day. We gotta.
Yeah. No, he sees like a young black man in Chicago, and he's like, "You could be president."
Oh my!
Wow.
Yeah, if Forrest were still alive though, he would be geriatric.
How old? When was he born? Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
Well, Jenny's gravestone. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it said 1946.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
But she died in in 80 something, because she wasn't quite 40 years old. She was quite young. But if Forrest Gump was alive now, he would be geriatric.
Scott Wozniak. What if I called you Scott the Woz?
Why is your Forrest ever so slightly just a little bit British?
Tea and crumpets.
Oh my god.
Come home with me at my house in Greenbow. I'll take care of you.
Why are you so good to me?
You're my girl.
Can I say, what was the point of him being named after the guy who founded the KKK? Like, that never came around, other than just he was like,
everyone makes mistakes. The whole point was that everyone makes mistakes, is what his mother told him.
Okay, you don't accidentally.
Or no, not mistake. Things that don't make no sense.
It was a mistake from an omniscient perspective, right? But calling it a mistake is like saying it happened accidentally. Like, no, those guys hated specific people. That's why they made it.
Specifically, it wasn't a mistake. It was. We do things that don't make no sense. That was what it was.
Okay, I don't think naming your kid that makes sense, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's just that Robert Zemeckis humor.
Oh boy, our boy. Well, how does this rank up against the only other Robert Zemeckis movie we've talked up on the pod, Andromeda?
What was it? Back to the Future?
Yeah.
I like Forrest Gump a lot more. I didn't like Back to the Future.
I don't know. I think Back to the Future just has like a tight. I think I like the two central performers in it better. I think it has a better score, and I just like the amount of setup and payoff in it. Like everything that gets introduced in that like first act like pays off in some way, shape, or form, to where it just feels like this like satisfying game of like picking up on all these things, like from the mayor, from his guitar skills, from playing in the band, from the story of how his parents met, from like all this thing where it's just like it feels like this like satisfying like game. But I don't know, they're also like trying to do two very different things. But I don't know, we might have to keep a running tally when we do. I don't think we've covered multiple films from multiple directors, so we'll have to. I might have to keep track of that when we talk about other stuff from other directors, you know. Next Orson Welles movie, we'll have to see how it ranks up against Citizen Kane.
Cool. I mean, I love Back to the Future. It's one of my favorite movies ever. So this one really wasn't going to be able to stack up to it too much. Like, I still really like this movie.
So, like, a Forrest Gump 2 has always kind of been tossed around, and it's like probably never going to happen because, okay, so allegedly the story goes, and I'll have to double check this, but allegedly the story goes was that the author of the original book was supposed to get some sort of money on the back end. He intentionally, I guess, took a pay cut in his licensing deal because he was going to get money on the back end from the box office. And then when the movie came out, they intentionally, like, even though it made a ton of money, they intentionally kind of arranged, according to the author, they intentionally arranged how the actual like box office was being distributed and paid and calculated so that they could technically argue that the movie was a box office flop, and so they didn't have to pay him out. And so whenever the sequel got published, they already had exclusive rights to make that movie, and so the author intentionally wrote like apparently kind of an insane sequel. I believe it's called Gump and Co. Just kind of as petty revenge to make sure that the movie could never ever get made. So here, okay, so there's an excerpt about it on the Wikipedia page, and I just want to read this. The screenplay for the sequel was written by Eric Roth in 2001, based on the original novel sequel Gump and Co., written by Winston Groom in 1995. The script begins with Forrest sitting on a bench waiting for his son to return from school after the September 11th attacks. So, Roth, Zemeckis, and Hanks decided the story was, quote, no longer relevant. In March 2007, however, it was reported that the producers took another look at the screenplay. On the first page of the sequel novel, Forrest Gump tells the reader, don't never let nobody make a movie of your life stories, and to quote, whether they get it right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The first chapter of the book suggests the real-life events surrounding the film have been incorporated into Forrest's storyline, and that he got a lot of media attention as a result of the film. During the course of the sequel novel, Gump runs into Tom Hanks, and at the end of the novel in the film's release includes Gump going on the David Letterman show and attending the Academy Awards. So he intentionally like made it this like ridiculous meta thing that could never work as an actual legitimate story. So the story goes. I think there's actually a part in the book that involves Forrest going to space, and if my memory serves me, it may or may not also include a monkey in that whole scheme. So just never gonna happen. I don't know, in this age of sequels and reboots, maybe someday.
Yeah.
I don't really see a world where they would. Tom Hanks is too old.
They call it Old Forrest Old.
Old Forrest. Yeah, I don't think that Forrest Gump has the energy to make a sequel.
He runs for like 15 steps and he's like, okay, I'm pretty tired now.
he sits down. I don't know. That sucks, man. They're always trying to like get people who actually deserve the money out of their money.
Yeah, I mean, so the story goes.
Paramount Pictures presents Tom Hanks.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
We didn't talk about the feather. What's up with the feather?
Oh, yes. What do you want to know about it? I did research on the VFX.
Well, let's start with that. Because I'm assuming it's not a real feather for most of its screen time.
So it's not, the beginning part is they were like, we can't control this feather. So what we're going to do is we're going to puppet this feather. So they masked over a puppeted feather that they had like over the footage they had. And where Tom Hanks is sitting on the bench with, we know how the feather lands on his foot. That the feather's there the entire time while they're filming it. So they had to paint it out in post. And then whenever the puppet lined up with the feather, that's whenever it like switched over to the one that Tom Hanks picks up. And I mean, do you want to talk about what the feather represents?
What do you think it represents, Dayton?
I mean, Jenny. Jenny talks about how she wants to be a bird and fly away. It makes complete sense why and every time Jenny is involved in something, they always CGI in birds. Like the birds in the cornfield were all CGI'd. So they want the bird imagery to be a big part of this movie. So I assume it's Jenny.
Well, there was something Forrest says in the movie, maybe, but they were like, I don't know if we each have a destiny or if we're all just floating around accidental, like on a breeze, but I think it might be both. So I think it's more like going with the flow and just, going through life and like kind of taking it as it is, kind of harking back to even the box of chocolates quote.
I mean, there's also the line that says like, you wouldn't believe it, but I run as fast as the wind blows, which is like, yeah. A feather would go as fast as the wind.
I think that I don't know. I think it's...
Yeah, Robert Zemeckis didn't think about that.
I think it just... I'm sure there's something.
I think Robert Zemeckis needs to write an apology to you.
Because I didn't get it? That's his fault?
I mean, he didn't think about that.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yes.
Hey, Robbie.
Robert Zemeckis deserves to write an apology to me as well.
I forgive him purely because he went on to make Polar Express.
That's what I want him to apologize to me about.
No. We'll talk about that someday. Robbie, you have nothing to apologize for in regards to Polar Express.
Robbie.
You know what kind of train this is?
Hey, you. Do you know what kind of train this is?
Now, my mama's always telling me how miracles happen every day. Some people don't think so. Jenny! But they do.
I'm doing my research on this movie to touch back onto the Jenny thing before I close out here. I had stumbled across a article from the AV Club kind of talking about this whole thing and Robin Wright kind of speaking out about it. And I love the headline. This is from 2024. The headline is Robin Wright defends perennial internet boogeyman Jenny from Forrest Gump. What? But she makes a lot of really interesting points. So, quote, Wright shot back against the charge that Jenny was, quote, punished for her choices and that the role was, quote, anti-feminist. No, it's not about that, she argues. People have said that she's a Voldemort to Forrest. I wouldn't choose that as a reference. Maybe she was kind of selfish. I don't think that it's a punishment she gets aid. She was promiscuous. That was the selfishness that I guess she did to Forrest. He was in love with her from day one. It's not the article goes on to say, it's not a moral failing to get sick. And in Wright's eyes, her death isn't a comeuppance for not being immediately sexually or romantically attracted to her childhood friend. Quote, she was just flighty and running and doing coke and hooking up with a Black Panther. And then she gets sick and says, this is your child, but I'm dying. And he still takes her. I'll take care of you at Mama's house, and I think it's the sweetest love story. I don't know. Like to me, it's just kind of this aspect of just like I think that she truly believes that she doesn't deserve him. That he's like so nice and sweet and level-headed in a way that like her trauma and her, because it's pretty blatantly implied that her father probably sexually assaulted her and her sisters. It's kind of presented in the movie as like that's just the linchpin for why she's so messed up, I guess. And I don't know. I get why it's understated because Forrest is kind of a naive character, but I think it also kind of I don't know. I think I'm a little. Sometimes I'm a little for as much as this movie gets into like the nitty gritty of like the gross underbelly of power dynamics and other kind of people that aren't able to fend for themselves in America. It seems weird to like, especially with how ready he is. I mean, her stupid chud boyfriend that she has at one point. He's like, I knew bringing you here was going to be... I was like, who is this guy?
Slaps her, and then Forrest comes in and punches him in the face.
He's like, I'm sorry. I would never hurt you, even though that's literally what I just did. I care so much about, I just hate President Johnson so much. Which is like a crazy excuse.
Damn, Linton.
Crazy excuse for hitting your girlfriend is that's just you just hate the president so much you had to punch your girlfriend in the face. Okay,
I always blame the sitting president whenever I abuse somebody. Okay. That's always my go-to. I think that he was a pretty realistic character to me.
I'm just not going to look good on paper.
Pretty appreciate it. It's good on paper. It looks good right now.
Is Jenny evil? No. She was an abuse victim that turned to all manner of purposes, substances, and individuals to try and fill a void that was left by a very deep-cutting trauma. And it doesn't matter how much Forrest loved her, and even if she probably would have been happier in that relationship, she didn't owe that to him. And part of the reason why she loved Forrest is because Forrest knew that, and as much as it hurt him, respected that.
Yeah.
Dang, this guy deserves a podcast.
Okay. Guys, I just got nominated for the world's best performative male. It's I got to start writing my acceptance speech.
We'll put that in my sequel.
I'm gonna get my hair cut like one of those mullets where like it's just all shaved here, but on the top and on the back it's long, and then I'm gonna get like facial hair.
Get that mustache. Oh
yeah, the mustache.
But you have to get the mustache, but then like the rest is kind of coming in, but like not fully.
Yeah. And I'm gonna wear.
Get this man a matcha in a canvas bag.
Well, yeah, and then exclusively like flannels and like black t-shirts.
Septum piercing? Or are we gonna? Or is that too far?
Whoa!
Well, I'm trying to be performative here.
Yeah.
My boy Forrest is going to get the same opportunities as everyone else.
A film by Robert Zemeckis.
What's my destiny, Mom?
You're going to have to figure that out for yourself.
All right, would you recommend this movie?
It becomes an issue for me.
Would you recommend this movie, Dayton?
Yes, sir. I love this movie. And I think that it's a very, even if you have issues with it, I feel like it is still very much a well-crafted film. Like, I don't feel like this movie wastes its time. Even if it's 2 hours and a half, I feel like there's always something good about each scene. Each scene can also be taken in, like, broken up into like episodic stories, and they're still great to watch individually.
No, I completely agree with Dayton. I think there's something to be said about this movie and Shawshank Redemption for some reason being people's favorite movies, and I genuinely understand why. It's not only that, but for me it was a comfort movie. Like, before we started recording this, I almost did not show up to record because I was feeling so sick and I was going to throw up. And then I was watching Forrest Gump and I was like, dang, this is actually a really nice movie to watch when you're just sick. Like, it's just a really good comfort movie, and that's like why they play it safe. It's just, it's just a feel-good movie. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, guys, can you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below for Andromeda being such a trooper and showing up to record even though she's feeling awful right now? I would appreciate that.
Please.
No, I mean, I think I would definitely like recommend. This is one of those movies where it's like I understand why it's so many people's favorite. I'm not going to say that it has immediately hopped to my Letterboxd top 4 or anything. But I can wrap my head around its legacy. You know, it's funny, it's sweet, it got me to genuinely make a noise with my mouth, which is like a mark of you actually got me a little bit invested in your movie, for better or worse. I was like, wow, I actually made like an audible sound. I watch a lot of movies where not even that happens, and you know, I don't know. Maybe the next time I go to Universal Studios, I'll have to pop into Bubba Gump and pay my respects.
No, I fucking hate Bubba Gump. Don't do that.
Okay, never mind.
I hate that place. I hate that place.
I can't even eat shrimp anyways.
What?
Alabama,
Arkansas.
No,
go have some ice cream. Go to like a ice cream place and get like a vanilla ice cream cone.
That was
Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
That was the most he ever acted like a little kid in the movie. Lieutenant Dan, I got some ice cream.
I can't believe he threw it into the little tin.
The bedpan?
Yeah, the bed. It pissed me off, man.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. You have a wonderful night. I love you all, and goodbye.